Welcome to the Heather Penny Podcast, where our goal is to help you reach your potential by increasing clarity, building confidence, and engaging courage. Dr. Heather Penny is a leadership coach, trusted advisor, and admired author. I'm Christina Morales, a writer and marketer, and Heather is my dear friend and my coach. So today we're continuing with our theme for March, Your Powerful Life. And today we're going to talk about learning to ask the right questions to get the direction we need. So I love how this topic fits with our month's theme because power is achieved with confidence. You just don't go into a car and drive 70 miles an hour without knowing where you're going. If you're lost, it's not going to work. You have to have direction or you just might hit a dead end. So what destinations are we focusing on today? What direction are we going in? Career, mental health, spiritual, all of the above? What did you have in mind when you came up with this topic?
Well, as I work with leaders, the first things I really talk to them about is, listen, I'm going to be stepping into this in your work and in your job responsibilities, but I'm really cognizant of the fact that you're a human being, which has a holistic approach to it, which means you have a personal life and you have a professional life. So wherever you want to apply the learning lesson, don't worry, just do it. And it's transferable. Mm-hmm. And a lot of times they're trying to figure out something at work, but all of a sudden it makes sense to them as a parent or in their marriage, or vice versa. They're trying to figure out something in their marriage or their parenting, and more of my personal coaching clients. And then all of a sudden they make this click of, oh yeah, that's happening at work too. I'm not speaking up to my boss. So all these different things, I just look at and I go, I think it's important to remember that we are whole human beings. We have a mind, we have a heart, we have a body, and we have a spirit. I think recognizing those four components, I try and make sure that how we take care of those different components of what makes us human is really critical. And only you know where you want to start, and only you know how they all are synergistically connected. My job is to help you get that clarity so you can step into it and figure out how to evaluate. And as I work with people, sometimes they're going to start with their eating. That's the body piece. Some people are going to start with kind of the state of their spirit and how they're feeling about something. Some people are going to start with their emotions and the state of their heart. Some people are really intellectual and they want to talk through things and they have to understand things. All of those are beautiful and good. Clearly, you can see how some of them can start working against each other where you avoid things, right? Heart and the head, some people have too much in the heart and they avoid the head. Some people too much in the head and they avoid the heart. Things like that. I'm just trying to gently stay on alert for, but the most part is just learning how to care for these areas and recognizing who we are as holistic human beings allows us to change and grow in a way that's very kind, compassionate, and caring.
What you're saying rings so true right now, because since we started our podcast, I have this new dialogue of questions that I pull into my head. So for example, when I was at work this week, there's one dude he has like no filter and he's just all rough and tumble, no sensitive bone in his body. And so I asked him something and he just snapped. And me being the very overly sensitive person that I know I am, I'm like, okay, that's just who he is. It doesn't mean I did anything wrong. It doesn't mean my question was wrong. That's who he is. Okay, now how do I respond to this, not react to this? And so you've given me all of this toolbox of questions that I can analyze. Okay, why am I feeling this way? And what's the right response to it? So
good.
So excited that we're doing this discussion because you are, and it's a process. You're teaching me how to ask the right questions, like for a healthy direction. And it's impacting how I'm a mom, how I'm a daughter, how I'm a worker. So this is such an important topic that it's continuing the conversation. And so can you explain the right kinds of questions to ask versus the wrong kinds? Like, is one specific and the other vague? What types of questions are we asking ourselves?
Well, I'll give you an example of myself. This week was a long week. It was a trying week. There were lots of challenges there. So an unkind question for me this week would be to wake up and say, what do I have to get done? And how do I push through? That would be unkind to me. One of the kindest questions I can do that will free me up to really care for my heart, mind, spirit, and body is to say, how can I be compassionate to myself today?
Wow.
What do I need? in order to do this day well so that I can offer compassion to others. I'm well aware of when my tank is on empty and when it's on full and anywhere in between. And I think as you just kind of take a quick glance at your gas tank and what you're running on, you can adjust how you live and what you offer to the world. And that actually makes you more powerful. You can see the connection. If I'm pushing through, which I have done before, when I'm tired and exhausted, why? Because I'm strong and I can do that. I will probably miss some cues from my clients who are trying to tell me about something that they're feeling bad about. And then I want to jump straight into the advice. They don't need the advice. They just need to hear me say, me too. I've been there. Me too. That's all I need to hear. So I think when we move into a life of more compassion and we let ourselves ask the questions that help us and not hurt us, we offer our best to this world. We offer our most powerful sense of self.
It's crazy because I'm part of this one team, and we're reading the typical books like 4 Disciplines of Execution and all of these things. And it's like, okay, what am I going to accomplish today? How am I going to accomplish it? What are the lead and lag measures? And all of that is great. And it's wonderful for building your business. Not once is it, how are you feeling? What's in your gas tank? Can you handle this? And is it going to bring the best result? Are you in the mental space to complete this? And so many times we just hear one part of the conversation and we assess the business, we assess the numbers, but we don't assess our health. And so I love that you're giving us permission to say, okay, not what am I going to accomplish today, but how am I feeling? Am I able to accomplish this well?
I love that you brought that up because I know the exact book you're talking about.
And it's great. It's absolutely great. However, that it has all the pieces of the puzzle except for that one.
Yes, you set me up for a really good win here, Christina, because I just coached an executive team on that last weekend.
Okay.
And we did an actual executive retreat for 3 days, and we were working with these dynamics of, what are the big goals that you want to set out there? What are the measures to get there? But as a coach, what I like to follow up with is, now, how do you feel about these? I put these all on the paper. Now, how do you feel about them? And they're used to this. So they're like, okay, we've just been brainstorming. Everything, was exciting because we were up in the head and we were doing all these great exercises to make us feel powerful and strong. And, it's really profound to watch leaders pause and reflect and say, I feel really good. And I go, great. Tell me more. I feel really excited about it because this is giving me new purpose. Then I go, awesome. So it's like that I'm integrating the heart and the head. And I've had the opposite happen. I feel really nervous, Heather. I said, I'm glad I asked. Let's slow this down and find out why you feel nervous about these big goals. I'm not sure if I can do it. Maybe it's personal, or maybe it's more of, I don't know if the team is ready for that. So I'm helping them stop and listen to their instinct or their intuition to grow that, and that's kind of what I call the head and the heart. I go, the head piece is awesome and it's so fun and powerful. Yes, unapologetically set your goals, get out there, do it. But unapologetically bring that heart back around and say, now, how do you feel about it? I had another powerful experience with an executive leader, and she was talking about what she was going to be doing and all these amazing things. And she'd been at the company for a long time. And we were all excited about it. She was with her team. And then I turned to the president. I said, now, how do you feel about this? And all of a sudden, she just kind of teared up and she said, I'm not ready for the change.
Really?
We're supposed to do it, and I feel good about the decision in my head, but in my heart, I'm grieving about the shift and what I'm going to be letting go of, because this was representative of when I first came to the company 20 years ago. I thought it was so poignant. It was just such another powerful reminder. Oh yeah, the head and the heart. And then I follow up and I said, well, do you think you should still do it? She's like, oh, definitely. I'm just grieving the loss of something that I have to say goodbye to. Isn't that profound? And you can see that she's going to be a much integrated, whole, clear leader, recognizing I'm going to go for it and do this big, massive change. But I got to own the fact of what this is doing to me emotionally. And I got to just feel it here for a minute. And then that allows me to integrate the heart and the head. And I just also said, you know what? There's other people been at the company as long as you have. They're probably going to feel some of these emotions too. This just made you a better leader because you honored your own emotions, because someone else is probably going to have the same reaction. And you're going to sit there and go, I know. Yeah, me too. I felt the same thing. And I think that's what people are always looking for. That heart piece is, how do we come alongside them and hear them and validate them and offer value? The head piece is like, let's go for it. Let's move out. Let's be powerful. Let's take our life back. Let's have our voice be heard. These are all wonderful things we want to step out in. Let's have a plan. Let's reach these big goals. But you always want to check in with your heart and say how you're feeling. And for me personally, oftentimes I have to check in and I go, I'm really tired. I made too big of goals, Christina. And so I just have to pull back. And even like before we started this podcast, how I had to own the idea. I was like, sorry, I haven't gotten that to you. I'm 2 weeks overdue. Hang on. I'm taking next week off. I can feel that I need to create that space. That's my heart kind of calling to me saying, create the space to be able to address the life that you really want to have.
And asking the right questions, like you said, pause and you're asking the leader, how do you feel about it? It's avoiding all these other issues and rabbit holes, because we talked about last week, blame and resentment, and you get stuck. So if she didn't feel, okay, I have to grieve it, now we can move forward. If she just kept pushing forward and didn't address the difficult feelings, then she would feel blame and resentment. Why are these people making me go this direction, and be resistant to the change? But she was able to process it, and processing it is so important to avoid other issues. You're getting to the root of the problem without building bigger problems.
Exactly. And that's why when we lead, whether in our personal worlds or our professional worlds, leading with an integrated heart and head is one of the most powerful stances in our life. It's really what the world is longing for.
And I think we also need to find the right resources, like how they're coming to you to balance the heart and the head, because it's so easy to find a lot of things that just have to do with the head. Do A plus B and it's going to equal C. So, and we get false information too. Like if you see it on the internet, if you read it on the internet, it must be true. So where should we look for answers? So we have the right questions. Now, where do we get the right answers?
Well, my basic premise is that all of us hold the answers within us. So I think I just want to go back to that basic true belief. You have your inner wisdom. You're holding the answers within you. It's sitting down long enough to reflect on it and sitting with people. If you're going to invite people into it, it's sitting with people who are helping you hear the inner wisdom. So for instance, the friends that I ask for, hey, here's what I'm struggling with. I want them to say, I believe you have the answers within you, Heather. I will stay with you in it and help you ask the questions so that you can get to that clarity. I do not want the friends who are saying, perfect, I'm so glad you came to me with a problem. I can't wait to give you all this advice on it. And then I walk away feeling more tired.
Right.
And, and I say that even with a little bit of tongue in cheek, because I've done the same thing. We do it out of good intent. I'm so eager to help somebody that I've got lots of ideas on how to creatively solve their problem in life. And really all they need to hear is, Heather, do you think I can handle this? And can you help me get to my own solutions that I think are brewing inside of me? I just can't get to them yet. And so I think one of the most powerful things we can do, and really the most powerful gifts we can give someone, is saying, I totally believe you'll get to them. And I'll just kind of hang out with you here until you get your clarity. And I'll ask some questions that will help pull out your clarity. So clearly I'll ask questions like, well, how are you feeling about this? What do you think your purpose is here? What's the next step you want to take? Where do you think you're feeling blocked? These are all questions that help people get their inner clarity. And as I ask them, they begin to process. And by the end of our conversation, they got their clarity. They know exactly what their next step is. They may not have the blueprint for the end of the journey or the end of what they're constructing, their architecture blueprint, but they will have that next step. And it's kind of like, I see it more as a flashlight on the path. You can have the flashlight and you can just see the next step in front of you sometimes. And honestly, that's enough.
And how should we respond if we don't get the answers we want? Like sometimes the truth can be harsh. For example, my husband is extremely smart. And when I ask him if he likes my new haircut, he'll say, oh, honey, you always look beautiful to me. I mean, he's the son of a diplomat. His dad was like he was the diplomat from Guatemala to the United States. So my husband, he's got it down. And the truth can hurt or be hard to accept. So even though we know the answers within us, like we said, blaming, I know it's I know that I need to take responsibility, but I'm not ready to take responsibility. How
Mhm.
do we process these difficult answers
Yeah, that's a good question.
here?
I think if you hear some hard truth, you get to just say, okay, let me go think about this. Let me go chew on it. And clearly, if it's hard truth, I really like hearing it from safe relationships that let me check it. They let me chew on it. They don't demand a response from me. They don't demand to be right. They say, here's my perspective. I want to put it on the table. And then I want to give you the permission to agree or disagree with me. I think that's where I try and do as in my personal life and in my professional life. That's just who I am. And it's then what I want to be returned to me. So
Mhm.
as I have to hear truth, you jokingly, I'll say to my husband, okay, tell me the truth here, but be loving. You
Yeah.
know, I might say in the professional way, I might say, okay, I'm looking for a little feedback here. I'm not going to go ask someone I don't really trust or admire or respect. I want to go ask someone that I really trust and admire and respect. And I know that can give me the truth in a way that's productive. It's solution oriented. It's going to help
Mhm.
me be a better person. So I think how we ask for the truth, how we receive the truth is really a lot of our ability to keep our powerful stance in this world. And there's sometimes I have to completely reject the truth.
Hmm.
And I've heard Brene Brown talk about this too, just this idea that I remember owning a coffee shop. I had so many people who wanted to tell me how to run that coffee shop.
Hmm.
And what I began to realize is that when you own a coffee shop, a lot of people ideas have great ideas because a coffee shop is kind of that secret dream that everybody wants to own.
Right.
And but when you're faced with the daily challenges of building staff and
Yeah.
profit and loss sheets and all these different things, um, but when you're kind of faced with all these different challenges in front of you, you have to own the fact that at the end of the day, the buck stops with me. So I'm not going to take all these ideas that are coming at me. So I begin to recognize the first question I would ask him is like, oh, if you own a coffee shop? If the answer was yes, and then my next second question was it successful? If the answer is yes, then I'm all ears.
So funny.
Okay. So you see
That's
where I'm
smart.
going with this, right?
Totally.
Yeah. And Brene Brown calls it, getting in the arena. Wait a minute, I'm in the arena and you've got all these ideas for how I should be fighting and addressing things. Let me just ask you, have you been in the arena? And were you successful in the arena? Or, even if you fell flat on your face, tell me what you learned.
Yeah.
Even if someone said, "Oh yeah, I owned a coffee shop. Oh, it was terrible. And there's a ton of lessons I learned." Well, of course I'm all ears because I don't want to make the same lesson, same mistakes. But what I'm really looking for is have they earned the respect to offer truth to me? And I
Mm.
think that's where you don't ever have to be a victim to other people's truth of you. You get to decide whether you're going to receive it or not. And then you get to decide how much you're going to integrate it. And if it's a really particularly hard truth, like I'm feeling myself wincing,
Mhm.
I will sit there and go, thank you. Let me think about it. And then I go run it by someone else I really trust. And
Mm.
if they say, yeah, actually, I've seen that too in you, Heather, then I go, okay, I can hear you. Then it allows me to kind of step back in and course correct and say, okay, here's my clarity and here's what I want to do with the truth that you offered. And I want to say thank you for offering that. And I want to also respond to it and say, here's the lesson I've learned and here's how I'm going to integrate it in my life. And here's some of the ways I'm going to course correct or grow from it.
Mhm. And as a coach, I'm sure you have to say hard things to some of your clients. Like, let's say an executive is way too critical to his staff. Like, how do you provide direction and answers that they're willing to hear?
Well, that's why I love working one-on-one. Typically, if
Hmm.
they're critical with their staff, they're critical with themselves.
Mm.
So I just want to step in and say, hey, I hear you're kind of being hard on your staff, and that's the feedback you're getting. Um, can I just ask you, where do you feel like you're being hard on yourself?
Mm.
And typically when I'm in the one-on-one, the trust level is very high.
Yeah.
So I've been given the permission to ask some of these harder questions, and I work really hard to make sure that people understand I'm not coming from a place of judgment. I'm coming from a place of I've been there. I've been hard on my staff. I've been hard on my kids. I've been hard on my husband. I've been hard on my friends.
Hmm.
been hard on my family. Oh, it's because I'm being hard on myself.
Mm-hmm.
So I say it from experience, not from a place of judgment, shame on you, but from, hey, this is what I've noticed in myself. And I'm seeing a little bit of this in you. How can I come alongside you? Are you aware of this? And typically the response I get is, yeah, I can feel it coming out of my mouth and I don't know what to say. Or I can hear the words and I realize I can't stop being negative, or I can't stop getting mad. Then I just say, okay, let's take a beat. Let's slow down. Let me kind of unpack this with you. Let's talk about it. Let's sort it out. And that way you get your clarity at the heart level. How are you feeling? What's going on the emotional side? And then at the head level, I get to equip you with some just basic communication tools that can help you step into it cleaner.
Mm-hmm. And you have a book coming out, and
Yeah.
I would love to use that as an example of this process. So, how did you progress from start to finish? How did you ask the right questions and know that this was the direction for you? Like, what's a real life example that we can follow or pattern in our lives to ask the right questions and to know the direction we should go in?
Wow. Okay. That's actually,
Yeah, just a 30-second quick answer would be fabulous.
yeah, it's such a great question, because all of a sudden I'm like, thank you for putting that example in front of me, because it really will help me address this.
Yeah.
I really don't like writing. I'll just be honest. And yet I'm a writing teacher, and, I've got my master's and my PhD, and I've written a whole dissertation, but I've never really, quote, enjoyed writing. So in order to take on this book, my big lofty goal was I get to enjoy the writing process. That felt too good to be true, but that's what I wanted to reach for. Well, after 2 years of sitting in that big lofty belief of I get to enjoy it, I realized I wasn't enjoying anything. I was avoiding because I couldn't figure out how to enjoy it. So then I said, well, how do you always work better? And I go, I always work better with a buddy. So if I want to enjoy something, I want a buddy or a guide or a friend or someone who knows what they're doing and that can come alongside me and basically teach me a little bit in this. So that's when I found a writing coach who was just a gift to me for 2 years almost. And it was then a relational process that allowed me to enjoy the writing. Then I had to get on the other side of it and actually get the editor to fix everything. So then I had to go through that process of, oh my goodness, I don't like seeing all this basically red pen all over my paper everywhere.
Yeah.
I'm not enjoying it anymore. And so then I realized, well, you just need a break. So I remember taking like a month off and just saying, you don't have to look at it, you don't have to touch it because you're not enjoying it. Then I just recently returned to it as the second revision, and I have been enjoying it in the morning with a latte, my candle lit, just kind of enjoying my book and my writing, because as I'm reviewing it, I want to feel like it's coming from a very whole place, not from a place of striving or brokenness or fear or endurance. Good heavens, I don't want to write a book on clarity, confidence, courage. It comes from a place of me striving and enduring.
Yeah.
But my high achieving self, I'll be honest with you, it's taken me 4 years. I was hoping closer to 9 months. I had to let that go in order to enjoy it. And that's huge for an achiever like me, who usually has pretty lofty goals of when they want to get things accomplished and how. But my primary goal was not to just endure and survive the writing process of a book. My primary goal was, how do I get to enjoy the process of writing? Because I really don't like it. But I want a finished product that accurately reflects who I am as a coach, so that I can reach and influence more people, because I can't take on any more clients. And so I'm feeling this desire to share just what I've learned in my 50 years of living, and being able to offer it back to the world. That's how I feel like I get to show up for my powerful life. And it's the most purposeful way that I can do it. It's my next step, is to write a book. So I want to take it on, but I want to do it in a way that allows me to enjoy it, so that I can continuously and authentically model. Yeah, you do get to enjoy things, and you get to figure out what it is that feels too good to be true. And you get to actually ask for that and step into that. And you will find a powerful life that other people begin to look at and say, wow, what's your path? Tell me more about your path and how you're blazing a trail over there.
I think my takeaway from this is that the problem with it's not asking the right questions, it's pausing to know, what do I want and how do I get there? Like, I'm so caught up in the rat race and I'm so caught in the little hamster in the wheel. I'm not asking, why am I in the wheel and where am I going? I'm just having my little feet go on the wheel. And so what I'm learning from you in this is just pause, assess, what am I feeling and where do I want to go? And then all the questions kind of come, like, how do I get there? And okay, so who do I hire to get there? And who knows more about this than I do? And so it kind of comes naturally and organically when we just pause and determine where we want to go and just kind of realize that ourselves. We're so busy that we just don't pause. Do you find that to be true?
Wow, Christina, you're going to love my chapter called Camping at the Crossroads or At the Crossroads. I can't remember, but something about crossroads. Okay.
Okay.
Because I talk about 3 groups of people that show up at the crossroads. There's the melters, which I call them. They're kind of melting down because of indecision.
Yeah.
There's a lot of anxiety. There's the speedies, which I call them because they're just speeding through and they're not even stopping to reflect. But there's another group called, which I'm calling the pausers. And they're sitting down, they're building a campfire, they're building a little camp right there in the crossroads. They're, making s'mores. They're asking the questions they need to ask. And then when they're ready, they get up and they turn left or they turn right or they do a U-turn or they go forward. They have their clarity if they take long enough to stop and pause at the crossroads. And that's what I try and communicate to people to really empower them. The crossroads don't have to scare you. You don't have to push through them. You don't have to melt down when you see them. If you can pause long enough, you will get the answers you need. And even better, if you can pause with good pausers, you're going to get stronger clarity. Clearly, if you try and pause with a melter, you're just going to get more anxious. If you pause with a speedy, you're going to feel pressured to keep moving forward. So I think of this idea of pausing at the crossroads, or what I call camping at the crossroads. You're going to love that chapter. You just set me up for that. And I'm like, yes, that's exactly what I coach.
That's perfect. And it just makes so much sense because then we know where we're going instead of going the wrong way. And then it's like a wind up toy, you just kind of goes, bumps into something, try something else, bumps into that. And it gives, and our tagline, you have to live intentionally. This helps us pause to live intentionally instead of just getting caught up in everything. And like, I just feel so caught up. Like I don't have a choice, but I do. And now I'm learning that I do have a choice. So thank you.
Oh yeah. Thank you. Thank you for bringing it up and making that connection.
Yeah. Well, that's all the time we have for today. It was so good.
It was good.
Yeah. Please subscribe to the Heather Penny podcast. And for questions, comments, and resources, visit heatherpenny.com. Remember, to live your best life, you have to live intentionally. Have a great day. We can't wait for you to join us next week. Thank you, Heather.
You're welcome. Take care, everyone.